Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari and welcome to today's edition of Shagalinku TV. It's a Friday. Thank God it's Friday, and we're live here today, and we're looking at something special. We're looking at the girl child education benefits and hazards. Okay, we'll briefly talk about the boy child as well because every time people say they've been talking so much, or people have been talking so much about the girl child and neglecting the boy child. But the issues are that researchers have also shown that 1 in 3 women or young girls are being violated rather. So you can see how it is. There's another school of thought that says maybe why people think boys don't also go through a whole lot when it comes to violence or deprivation and all of that is that when you talk about violence in men hardly come out to talk about it. I mean, many men won't just come out and say, they've been raped or violated and all of that. People hardly would believe them. So yes, as we talk about the girl child today, we'll briefly also talk about the boy child in between. Once again, welcome to the show. We're streaming on 3 destinations on Shagalinku TV Facebook page, on Shagalinku TV YouTube page, and lastly on my personal page, Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari on Facebook. So the comment section is there. Drop your comments if you have anything you want to talk to us about the girl child education. We're looking at the benefits and the hazard, And I have 3 guests from 2 countries. Yeah, I have Ogadinma Nkem Ogbonna from Bauchi, Nigeria. I also have Benedicta Adyo from Abuja, Nigeria. And I also have Juliana Yorke from Accra, Ghana. And together we will be talking about these issues. We'll lend our voice and try to see what we can dissect from this. So the comment sections are there, like I said. Drop your comments and just go on to join the conversation. Let's be good hosts. So let me bring in Miss Juliana as our guest from Accra, Ghana, to talk with us first. Juliana, welcome. We need you to tell our viewers your name, what they need to know about you, and then we'll take it up from there.
Well, hi everyone. Good evening from Accra, Ghana. Like you rightly mentioned, I am Juliana. I'm a media and communication person, but I'm also very much interested in girl child education in general, especially in our rural communities. It's my story. So anytime I hear of such a story, it just I'm happy to jump in and speak about it and also advocate for the best that could be done for about it. So happy to be here, and hello to my fellow guests on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. I hope you will tell us about your story as the program progresses. And this is to let the viewers know that it took me 3 years to drag
Oh,
Juliana to our show.
don't do that. Don't do that.
Thank you for joining us, Juliana. I'll come back to you. Let me go and bring in our other guest. I'll bring in Ogadinma right now to also introduce himself. Hi.
Everybody.
Yeah. So tell us more about who Ogadinma Nkem Ogbonna is for our viewers who are watching right now across the world.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Ogadinma Nkem Ogbonna. I'm the program manager, Better Life Restoration Initiative, an organization that focuses on education, health, and good governance, and an organization that have also done very well when it comes to girl child education. Through the support of USAID in the just concluded NEI Plus project, we've been able to provide access to education to over 5,000 out of schools children. Most of them are girls. And currently, we're also implementing the IXA4 project, which is also a project that is has educational component in it. So currently we have almost about 6,000 to 7,000, beneficiaries, many of whom are also within school age. We are also ensuring that they are in school, basically because the project itself is looking at that the child should be stable, should be schooled, should be healthy, at the same time safe. So far so good. Most of the things we are doing, and also we are also currently starting another project which we just started this week. It's supported by the Bread for the World Germany DEC, and we are also providing, access to education to about 150 out of school girls. This time around, we are focusing on adolescents, and we've also done projects that we're also looking at. We also did in respect of, supporting girls in Shira, Misau, Jama'are, and Zaki in Bauchi State to, train them on how to make reusable menstrual pads, because all of us know that there is issue of period poverty. There is also so many other things we feel that have also been a problem in terms of, allowing the girls to remain in school or access to school and the rest of it. So basically, that's who I am, always there for the girl child. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nkem. He's also known as Obama. What he didn't tell you is that his AKA is Obama, and I might be calling him that as the program progresses as well. If you're watching us, I'd like you to also share the video. Drop your comments in the comment section on the topic of discussion. We're looking at the girl child education benefits and hazards. I'll bring in my other guests, the last but not the least, to also introduce herself, Benedicta Adyo. We call her early comer. Obama will understand what I'm saying, Hello, Benedicta. Good to have you.
Hello. It's so good to be here with all of you today. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to join you on your show and speak about the girl child. Okay, my name is Benedicta Nguemo Adyo. I'm a youth peace advocate. I'm a program intern with CISLAC, Civil Society Legislative Advocacy. I'm very passionate about girl child education, girl child in general. So whenever I have the opportunity to speak on it or to give a voice to it, it's always an honor and a good opportunity for me to project it, because for me, girl child education is everything. We have to put it out there for people to understand the benefits, the importance of it, for why a girl child should be raised up and be given proper education. And when you give this opportunity, it brings about great development, not just for the family, for the society at large. So for me, this is a great honor for me to give my voice here. So that's me. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benedicta. Thank you all my guests for being here. So we'll start the show. Please, if you're watching right now from across the world, we need you to also tell us where you're watching us right now from. We have viewers all across the world, even viewers who watch even when the show is ended. They watch the recorded version of the show. But please, if you're watching right now, when you drop your comments in the comment section, also let us know where you're watching us from. We'll really appreciate. You can also share the video so that others can join in the discussion. I'll bring in Juliana now all the way from Accra, Ghana. She talked about something when she opened up the show with her introduction. She said the girl child education is a story, and I'd like her to start with that story because that will encourage a lot of other girls. I was in a discussion with someone a few days back, and I was saying that in spite of the seemingly success stories that we've seen around girl child empowerment and education, a whole lot still needs to be done. You'll find a whole lot of girls still dropping out of school because of teenage pregnancy, early marriage, FGM, and all of that. And I'm happy Kim talked about period poverty, which I know we'll also look at as the program progresses. So for you, Juliana, tell us shortly about your story and what you think the girl child education is missing out and all of that. You could also even bring the Ghana experience for our viewers to share with Juliana?
Okay, so Ambassador, thank you very much. Well, so when I said the girl child education is my story, is because for me, I'm a girl. Okay, I'm a woman now, but once upon a time, I was a girl. And I was a girl who was born in a rural community, raised in a rural community for up to a certain level. And I always, anytime I look at myself, I I look at my life and where I am right now, I can't place it in any better way than education. It's education that has brought me. I don't know what would have happened to me if I hadn't gone to school, if I hadn't finished my basic education, if I hadn't gone to secondary school, if I hadn't gone to the university. I simply could not imagine myself meeting you on a yearly program, if not for education. And so, beyond girl child education, uh, education generally is something that is I'm very passionate about, because I don't see myself happening or to have gone far in terms of my life if not for education. And also, I mean, better and quality education. It's one of the things I emphasize, because then I had the opportunity to experience going to school in a village and going to school, let's say, in an urban center, and the difference that there was. And so it's always been the story with me that education is important. It is what gives us better life, especially even for the girls. And one typical example I would give is also that back in the village where I grew up, where I was born and where I grew up, um, anytime I have the opportunity to go back there, and I see the people that I was growing up with, some of whom you clearly could see the difference between them and yourself. And where the difference has been for me is that it's education. That's because I've gotten the opportunity to have experience with better education. I see myself to be in a far more better place, making far more better choices and decisions than them. And so it's one thing that's I'm always grateful for. And whenever I have the opportunity, I advocate for that more girls and teenagers need to be in school, get better and proper education, so that we will all have a better society, we will all have better lives to live, and it wouldn't, or that we wouldn't see much disparities in our communities and in our societies. So when I say it's my story, I mean, this is really the beginning of my life. And I always have projects in my community almost every year, encouraging the younger ones to take their education seriously, especially for the girls. Supporting where I can in terms of mentoring, in terms of providing resources, in terms of advocating the entire community. I do that because I see that I've seen what education has done for me. And I know that once they also have that better opportunity, it will put their lives in a better place. And one thing I have to also share is the fact that until I got the opportunity to go to secondary school and also move on to the university, the statistics of the younger or the teenagers or the adolescents in my village or in my community was quite low. And the minute my story came out that this is me coming from this village, having been able to go to school, finish secondary school, and even got into the university level, it started changing the perception, and it started encouraging other young girls and even boys to also go to school, to realize that it is possible and it can be done, whether they are in a village, a remote village somewhere, or even in the city. It is possible because they've seen somebody do it and they've seen somebody going through the process. And so I have I mean, with my example, there's been success stories and which has worked well and it's still ongoing. every now and then, most of us will go back to the community and advocate and share our stories, share our experience to encourage and motivate other people to also do the same. And just to quickly share the experience of Ghana, yes, girl child education in general has come far. But I mean, before the program, I've been doing some few readings, and statistics shows that averagely we've done well so far, but there's still a gap and there's still more efforts that needs to be done to make sure that there are better policies and there are better systems in place to support the girl child education. And so all the issues that you've currently raised, which pertains to Nigeria, I must also affirm that it is the same in Ghana. And we need to do a lot more to be able to support the girl child education.
Thank you very much, Juliana. We really appreciate that from you. I'll bring in Ogadinma. You know, I know you've won a whole lot of awards. I will call you what they popularly say the he for she. You know, a lot of times when we talk about girl child education or women empowerment, people also have this wrong notion that men can't support or men can't lend their voices. I've been in a room where people were arguing if men can be feminists and all of that, and they say they are allies and all of that. Anyway, you've done so well in terms of girl child education, a lot of awards being won and recognitions in your work. Tell us also, as a rider to what Juliana has said, coming from the history or the statistics from Ghana, how would you rate it, particularly you that live in the northern Nigeria? You know, because for Nigeria as a whole, girl child education could be seen in different angles. You know, the girl child from the eastern part or from the western part might be lucky to get more opportunities to go to school because probably her parents or people around her are educated or love education. But with the north, there's a culture, there's a religion, there's tradition, and all of that put together that impedes. What's your view about that?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yes, here in the north, there is issue of, you know, the percentage of girls who are enrolled in school, gender disparity in terms of enrollment, in terms of access. Honestly, is very, very low because of a lot of factors. Number one, the issue of insecurity. Insecurity, even though it's new, is also hampering the successes that we must have recorded in the past. And when you look at the issue of gender disparity, especially up here in the north and Bauchi state specifically, you realize that the gaps are being tried to bridge, but yet other factors, religion, culture, poverty, because there is great correlation between the poverty level or rate of a community and the access to education and, you know, literacy rate. The reason is because most of these social problems we face in Nigeria, especially here in the north, when you trace it, you realize that they have correlation with very low, you know, enrollment, role retention, role, you know, the issue of transition. Because basically, let me even break it down. If you want to take care of girl child education, the first thing is access, creating access to the schools, to the classrooms. Now, access here now, you've gotten a school, you've enrolled the child, and the child gets to the school. Now, don't forget, education takes a lot of years. Now, ability to retain that child in school, from access to retention, so that the child can start from primary 1, 2, up to primary 6, get to secondary JS1, and the rest of it is the issue of retention. Then from retention, you now move to the next stage, which is completion, so that the child can be able to complete, you know, primary school from primary 1 to 6. At that stage, you say, I have complete the child. I've been able to achieve completion. But education doesn't stop there. The child has to move to secondary school. Moving the child to secondary school means you are looking at the issue of transition, transiting the child, the girl, to secondary school. Then when you transit the girl to secondary school, you also have to follow it up until the girl can be able to complete 12 years of education and then have a secondary school certificate. Now, at this point, you realize that when the girl is able to spend 12 whole years in secondary school, you have saved the country and the statistics a lot of numbers. Number one, if we can be able to allow our girls to complete their primary and secondary education, we have automatically reduced infant maternal mortality by a whole lot of what? 41%. So meaning that if you will refuse to allow girls to be in school, using in northern Nigeria as a case study, if 100 women are to die from childbirth or issues relating to pregnancies and childbirth, allowing them to go to school, if all of them went to school, we will no longer have, 100 people dying. We will end up having only 59 women that will die. So allowing girls to complete just 12 years, to be in 12 years in school, you've been able to reduce infant maternal mortality by 41%. Now, allowing the girls to complete secondary school too, just allow them to be in school for just 12 years. You've been able to reduce the issue of early child forced marriage by 64%. So at that point, you realize that if you're fighting early child marriage, child bride, then the solution lies with access, retention, completion, and transition. So up here in the north, honestly, the numbers keep changing because oftentimes because of a lot of factors. So, but the thing there is that for us, we believe that it is a collective responsibility of everybody, because a woman who is educated, a girl child who goes to school, is a plus, both at the GDP. Currently, we are having a serious economic issues in the country. Things, inflation are there. We have a lot of foreign debts on us and stuff like that. Imagine if all the girls who are out of school or who are not in school or who didn't go to school were all educated. Our GDP would have doubled, because research have shown that educating your girl child, let me just put it in, it's just like for us, we watch football. Maybe the best team you have, maybe Bayern Munich or Manchester or Arsenal. Now, if you have teams who have 11 players, refusing to empower the girl child is like a team of 11 playing just 5 players against other parts of the world where you have male and female, at least the Nordic countries, the Western countries, where you have high rate of enrollment and education, girl child education. So at that point, as a nation, when you don't have your girls in school, you're only playing 5 players against 11 players in a competition. So it is very, very important. So for us, girl child education is not just something of political correctness or kind of trying to give token, since SDG 4.1 is saying FDG, no. It is a national investment. It is something that it's an investment that have a very high returns. So
and a long time one.
A long-term one. So these are some of the things that girl child education has to do. So it's high time we stop treating it as something people can use to score cheap political points, or something people can just say, yes, we are just helping these people. No. let me take myself as an example. I am what I am today because my mother was educated. The reason is because having a mom, for example, who comes from a polygamous family and who strived, to be in school, to get herself educated, and with that knowledge of education, she got a good job at that time, started working, and then gave birth to us and began to teach us how to read and write, even when we weren't in school. So as at that time, ECD, early childhood education and development wasn't, the order of the day. And in a community where we found ourselves, we were better off. So that education she got assisted us, because when a woman is educated, her children are less likely to be malnourished. Her children are less likely not to be educated, because it's a family thing. It becomes a transgenerational investment and impact. So that created that love for education for us, who happens to be our children, and she ensured that all of us found our feet, academically or educationally. And not just that, even morally and socially. Because when a mother is educated, she'll be able to train her kids in line with their religious values, cultural values, because she's already educated. So these are some of the benefits that it has to do. So for us here in Bauchi, in the northern Nigeria, we've been working so hard with international partners, with the government support, with our community leaders, beginning to make people understand that, look, if you want to change your life, if you want to get the best for your children, if you want them to succeed, definitely education is the single pathway. And like Yorke was saying, using her own story in Ghana, coming from a very rural community, education now makes her, projecting her and now giving up a perception that probably earlier in her community, girls are not allowed to get to that point. And now she now breaks that glass ceiling, open a pathway, everybody now begins to move. I think these are some of the stories that when we begin to talk about it, everybody will marvel and know that, yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ogadinma. I'll bring in, thank you, Benedicta, for waiting. You are an early comer, so if you be the last person to speak, no wahala. I want to bring you in here. Unmute yourself. Thank you so much. Having listened to Juliana from Accra, Ghana, and listened to what Ogadinma from Bauchi has said, take us through what you think as well for education, because it's worrisome when you still find parents who think the girl child is a commodity for settling debt. It's as bad as that. We still don't understand that, aside the success stories, when a family has like 4 or 5 girls, in the mind of some of these parents, they're like, okay, by the time I give the first one to a farmer and give the second one to the baba in my locality, so some parents just equate the economic emancipation for them according to the number of girls. And it's sad that if, for instance, the government says every home bring out a child that the government can give free scholarship, you'll be shocked that many homes would prefer to bring out the boy child and give out for the scholarship than the girl, because they will say in the Nigerian palace, the girl will get married and the family's name will be lost. How worried are you as a person when you know that there's so much power when a girl is educated?
Okay. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Like, it's quite worrisome. Like, in our society, it has always been that way, and it's even more sad and worrisome that even at this stage that we think the world is moving towards so much on education, and yet like there's little or just very little change, and for me education, coming from a family that holds education very dear. My dad is very instrumental in pushing me forward, So when you come from an environment where you have parents or people around you that you can model to, or they model to you, it kind of propels you to gravitate towards that educational aspect to attain more for yourself. So now, if in a family where the father has this mindset that, okay, a girl child is like a poverty emancipation program, it's quite sad, but that's how it is. Even looking at the economic situation of Nigeria right now, it's happening. If you, not just in rural communities, even in our urban centers, like, you see it happening. It's even with the COVID-19 pandemic, it has really shifted a lot of hardship on families, and that has also reduced. You find most girls are back home. So you see that progress that was made, COVID-19 like has come to like reduce it even a step back. And the boy child, they are in school, but the girl child is back home. And they feel, oh, you should let the boy child go. If he's in school, the tendency of him like achieving more and coming back to take care of the family, which is not so. It's natural for a girl child or a lady or a woman who develops herself, goes out, she always keeps her family to her heart. You get? So it shouldn't be an issue of a man would develop himself and come back and look after the family, because we are in a patriarchal society, of course, where is the responsibility. We see that is the responsibility of the man to take care of the home. But then you can see it right now that ladies, women who are educated, they are equally taking care of these responsibilities, taking care of homes, doing things for the society. So we should move away. To me, it's saddening when I see that parents still like look at it that a girl child does not have much to offer. You educate a girl, and then at the end of it, she goes on and marries, and then it's more like the development has shifted to that family she's going on to marry. It's wrong. These are wrong notions. It's very wrong. So for me, whenever I'm to speak, advocacy is the number one thing for me. If we're talking of girl child education, advocacy, 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 we can't put that out of it. By the time, wherever you find yourself, in communities, in homes, like you see such social issues, you should always talk about it. You're not talking to criticize that family where you are, where you've seen such ills going on. No, you're trying to sensitize them. You give them this benefit. You tell them that, okay, these are the benefits towards giving this girl education. Ogadinma talked about access. I really agree to that. For us in Africa, a girl child looks at other issues. It's not just you talk about giving her opportunity. You look at, if you give her opportunity, how about the security? Is it does she feel secured enough to walk from her house to school? This is also another issue. So for girl child, there are a lot of issues. For a man to go to school, for me, I feel it's easy because the society has made like when it comes to that security aspect of it, a man feel when he's walking on the road, no one can attack him. But as a lady, as a schoolgirl, you're walking on the street, you're hearing cat calls and all of this. Like, if a girl is not emotionally strong or hasn't gotten that proper mindset to be able to wave off such things, the next day she might wake up and not go to school, and she might start complaining. So these are just the little issues around it. And then, talking of access, I want to go back to environment. Like, where I come from, education is very pivotal. Like, I come from Benue State, where, like, if you meet, let me use if you meet 10 girls around, you are very sure to find, out of that 10, you are very sure to find 6 who are educated, who have been going to school past just primary school. I'm talking about secondary school. And you hear them speak, and speak very passionately about them working to advance, going to university and all of that. So where you come from, an environment that gives you access to this education is also another, like another key issue we should look at. So access, security, these two things are very, very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Benedicta. In case you just joined us, this is the Friday's edition of Shagalinku TV, and my name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari. I have three guests with me here from two countries, Juliana from Accra, Ghana, Ogadinma from Bauchi, Nigeria, and Benedicta from Abuja, Nigeria. And we're looking at the girl child education, the benefits and the hazards. You can be part of the show by dropping your comments in the comment section, and then we'll read them. Please also share the video, share the link so that your friends can join. I got this one here from Alison Matthew. Well, I can't understand this, but thank you anyway. It's good to know that you're watching. Stephen Daniel says, my name is Stephen from Kano. I'm enjoying the program. Thank you so much, Stephen. And I got this other one here from Tiagba Dosu. Guess that name sounds Benue-like. And this someone from Benedicta's area, I guess, and she's also saying true to some of the things all our guests are saying. I'll bring in Juliana now to talk more on the issue of teenage pregnancy, because a lot of that has also impeded girls from accessing education, teenage pregnancy, early marriage, and all of that. So you find 20 boys and girls, going through primary school to secondary school. But you find at some point that the number keeps dwindling for the girl child. So you find in a class of 50, maybe there were 20 girls from primary one. By the time they get to maybe primary 6 or even to just 1 or 2, many girls hardly even make it to just 1. That's a sad reality. So even when there's no teenage pregnancy, the issue of teenage work, so to say, I don't want to call them house helps, it sounds demeaning sort of, but then the issue of the house help thing. So girls are imported from their villages, to urban cities for menial jobs. Some of these people promise the peasant parents in the village that they are going to put these girls in school, but sadly, we all know that they go from the rural area to the city and become house girls and bar attenders at that very tiny age. So some girls don't even make it to just 1. And then the teenage pregnancy is there, and then the early marriage and a whole lot of issues. So I'd like you, Juliana, to tell us briefly what you think about teenage pregnancy and what ways we can stop it or reduce it. I know a lot of work has been going on sexual reproductive health and rights. But like Ogadinma said, even period poverty is an issue. Sometimes when I go to rural areas to talk to young girls, especially secondary school girls, it is shocking. And even when I say it every time, people still don't believe that young girls still can't even afford pads. So some rural areas we've gone to, we see them use rags and grass for their menstrual cycle. It's as bad as that. So Juliana, what do you think about teenage pregnancy and how can we reduce that so that more girls can access education?
Hi. So thank you once again. Well, you hit the nail right on the head and elucidating most of the critical issues that face girl child education in our parts of the world, be it Nigeria, be it Ghana. That I don't think this issue is different, and also even in terms of the perspective from the northern and the southern or the eastern sectors, it's the situation also reflects the same in Ghana. And I guess partly because it has to do with the nature of development in both in areas. To even give you some statistics, as I was reading, from the Ghana perspective, we have averagely, I understand that averagely girls, especially from rural communities and in some very devastating urban centers, spend just about 4 years in school. That is especially with the senior high education. They spend just 4 years. So like you were making reference to, um, uh, as compared to the boys. And then also we have about 14% of girls in Ghana that are aged between 15 and 19 having at least one child. And that's quite a critical issue. And I would always like to zero into my personal experience, because then, like I was sharing with you, if I take myself, most of the people that I was in school with, especially in the rural community, my hometown, a lot of them sort of dropped out of school, and most of them have children, were teenage mothers. I myself am a teenage product. When I say I'm a teenage product, it tells you that my mother had me at a teenage age. So when you see my mother and I today, the difference, you don't see much difference. She had me when she was 16, when she was going to the, exactly. So you could then understand my passion for girl child education, because then my mother's story is also my story, in the sense that she also didn't get the opportunity to further her education in that time after she got pregnant with me and she gave birth. And so you realize that her dream of furthering going to school got truncated, which is still an issue that persists till today. Once you are a girl and you get pregnant in the middle of your teenage years, some way, somehow, you just don't get to move on to go to school again as compared to the boys. And so teenage pregnancy is a very, very critical issue in Ghana. And it's also a personal issue that I'm very, very personal and very passionate about. And the more reason why, when I get the opportunity, I speak about it, because then it's one of the critical things that is impeding girl child education. And for Ghana, recently, that there's been some measures being put in place to ensure that even if a girl gets pregnant along the way, they still have access to go back to school, whether within the period that she's pregnant or even after she's put to bed, she's able to go back to school. Recently in the news, there's been some success stories of that sort. But even still, you would want to ask, what are the measures that are being put in place to ensure that all these are getting pregnant doesn't impede my access to education, doesn't hinder me from being able to continue my schooling from wherever I stopped from. So these are some of the nuances and the conversations that we still need to, and the advocacy that we still need to make, because we know that teenage pregnancy is a number one factor that impedes or hinders, and it's happening, especially with the COVID-19. Recently, statistics came out, and in terms of the huge number, just for the period that children were not going to school, schools were shut down. I don't have the figures, but when the research that came out shows that a number of the girls have gotten pregnant. A good number of the girls staying at home and not going to school, not having to the girls have just gone. And the situation, I think the other lady just shared it, that COVID-19 has even worsened the progress that we were even making before COVID came. It has come to even worsen the situation. And it's not even just the teenage pregnancy. Also, I mean, for Ghana, like this, we have about 52% of girls having encountered gender-based violence. And the other guest made mention of it, that you encounter violence, sexual harassment. Just some few days ago, it's in the news that a teacher has molested a young girl, has abused her. I think in the northern parts, has abused the girl very badly. So imagine that already having access to school is a problem. Once I get access to school, then there's the situation of being harassed, being encountering gender-based violence. There's a situation of also the poverty which comes in. How many of us are able to even afford the menstrual cycle, monthly menstrual cycle, also impedes us from going to school. Most of the children in these communities or in these urban areas have issues of being able to afford sanitary towels, proper sanitary towels to use. So when you are in all these times, you don't feel confident to go to school. First of all, you don't even know what is happening to you. Talk of having the right hygiene in place for you to be able to feel confident and go and sit in the classroom and study with your peers. And beyond that, also you have sexual harassment issues coming from your teachers, from your mates, and from your peers, and all of these things also coming to box down into teenage pregnancy. So it is a very critical issue. And for me, most of the advocacy that I do in this room, that's why I always emphasize rural communities. I'll just share, just last week, I did a program in a shelter that offers shelter and training for street girls. So like you just rightly said, most of these girls come also from migrates to the cities from the rural communities without any care and support from any family member, and they are on the streets of their own, being abused by men and boys, getting pregnant and not having being able to go to school. And we have as low as 12, 13 who are in the shelter. They are pregnant. Some of them have children. So what this shelter does is to provide them the opportunity to learn a trade or get sewing, like a trade, so that they'll be out of the streets. And it also gives them the opportunity to have somewhere to keep, or somebody to manage their children for them. So it's a critical issue that governments, individuals, policymakers, we all need to still put our voices out there to ensure that education is a must for girls, is a must for boys, is a must for everyone in our rural, especially for me, because me, I come from a village. So usually I'll fight for my village folks, because that's where the issue is. That's where most of the critical problems are coming from. Most of our rural folks still are not in tune into the benefits of what an education does. So sharing our stories like this, that's what I've realized, that it's working some way, somehow in my village where I come from. People meet you and they are fascinated and they are enthused that, oh, at your age, well, like you said, the hazards, I'm sure, will come there. I'm sure we'll come to the hazards. But certainly for me, I don't even think we should be discussing hazards. The benefits more outweighs the challenges or the hazards. So it's even a non-starter conversation if we have to talk about it. There's a popular Ghanaian, one of our historical figures in Ghana, has the saying that if you educate, his name is Kwejiri Agri. He says that if you educate a man, you educate an individual, but when you educate a girl, you are educating an entire nation, because you know that women are likely to nurture and give that breeding ground for other women or their children to also grow. So teenage pregnancy, Ambassador, it's one of the issues that cringes me when I see a child. I saw one just last week. I was at the shelter and I was looking. It's quite pathetic, and we still need our voices out there. And the north-south disparity too is also not encouraging, partly because of the culture, and we still need more voices to be out there to show people the green lights in terms of education and the benefits it brings to us.
Thank you so much, Juliana. I'll bring in, I got some messages here, and thanks to everyone sending us. Lillian Gua, we need you to also tell us where you're watching us from. Thank you for your message. I'll bring in Benedicta to read this message from Lillian Gua. But I'd also like to ask Benedicta something before I go to Ogadinma. Benedicta, it's worrisome, with the distractions. You rightly said, and Juliana also alluded to that, that even when a girl child is even able to access education, between her house to the school, anything can happen. So a boy can freely even go to school. So between her house to the school, she stands a chance of being assaulted, violated, raped, and all of that. If she even succeeds from her house to the school, the wahala is still in the school. Some get raped by their teachers, by their caregivers, and all of by the co-students, by their co-students. So the distractions are many, and then she's facing psychological problems as well. I really need you to address what we can do about the distractions, because sometimes we don't even realize that the girl child is distracted from all angles. She's at home, she's a senior, but the parents and the patriarchy that happens in Africa, her younger brother will be in the parlor watching TV with the father. She's expected to go to the kitchen and cook. After all, she's the girl. You get married though. So if you don't know how to cook, your husband will not marry you. And then she does all this till night. And then she wakes up in the morning. She has to still take care of the home front and do chores before she gets to school. She might even be going through her menstrual cycle. Her hormones are running haywire. And then she's expected to sit in class and learn. And when she's sleeping out of tiredness from both sides, they're still telling her, you see, you lazy girls, after you say you want to go to school, look at what. So, how do we help these girls to understand? I think we should have more of this guidance and counseling in schools, where they should have free sessions with these girls to boost their morale, because so much is dragging them down. How do we begin to deal with this distraction?
Okay. You mentioned you mentioned a lot of issues there. Um, it's not easy for a girl child, like it's not easy. In the beginning, you talked about when they talk about education or disparities, it's always about the girl child, girl child, and there's little about the boy child. We can't come here talking about boy child, putting boy child at the forefront when we know the boys, like those issues a girl child faces, like a boy child does not even face an inch of it. You get, you talk about menstrual cycle, women going through that, like those issues are, they are all out there, but yet you still see us women, girls still striving despite all of it. It's not easy. I agree that there should be more education around such issues in school, to teach these girls who are already in school how to face such issues head on. Growing up, I remember there used to be like school clubs, like we used to have like UNESCO clubs, all these little these are social clubs that have like inclusion. They make these girls belong. When you are in such gathering or groups where it's a woman who is who you see who is at that pedestal that is teaching you, you are likely to model towards that. It's a model. When you look at that, it encourages you. Then you look at the distance of home to school, the violence a girl child faces, the assault, gender-based violence, all these things. How can we begin to narrow it down so that girls begin to feel safe in the environment? Now, when we talk about these issues, we are most likely to focus on the girls, on women. We talk to the women about these issues. No, now this when we talk about assault issues, the education now has to be narrowed down to the male folks, to the men, to now understand that there are some of these things you people do that are a threat, that are threats to girls. This education should not just be focused or given to the girls alone. You're giving this information to the girl. It's not enough. What is she going to use it to do? Those who are dishing out these problems or these issues that a girl child is facing is coming from the male folks. So for me, when you are to deal with such issues, you start by educating the male gender, for them to know that, okay, for a girl child to feel safe, you have to do this. When you talk of menstrual hygiene in school, you teach a girl that, okay, when you're on your period, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to take care of yourself in this way, you have cramps and all of that. But the male in the family, the brothers, even the father, do they even know what menstrual cramps is? These are the things. So if you're going to narrow such issues down, you should start by educating these male folks on the importance of this. They need to know for them to be able to understand such issues and to treat them. Like, as a girl growing up, then I had brothers. I grew up in the midst of brothers, a lot of brothers. So it was easy for me because they understood these issues. So if I go out on the street, maybe I'm sent to buy something, and then a boy stops me and he's trying to harass me or even say hello or something, and I'm not comfortable with it, I come back on and immediately my brother sees my face, like, why are you like this? What happened? I'm like, okay, so like this happened when I was out there. And immediately they are going to go out there and like, why did you harass my sister? So when your brothers or when the family or the environment you are in, they start understanding these issues away from the girl child, the education should no longer be focused just on the girls. The boys need to start understanding these issues. It's very critical. Like, for me, growing up, I was quite a shy. If I'm going out, I'm walking, and I start hearing such cat calls, honestly, I just feel like the ground should open and I should just shaping your self-esteem and all of that. You feel very uncomfortable in your own skin, in your own environment. So when we talk of girl child education, social issues about girl child, we should not focus on teaching the girls alone. We should shift them to the fathers. We should shift them to their brothers. Everybody is our brother, everybody is our father. When we start understanding that we're a father figure to that girl out there, we're a brother to that girl out there, and we understand these issues, we'll be more open to protect whichever girl you see out there being harassed. There was a video I watched some time ago. I think that was last year. I can't remember. It happened in Lagos. This girl happened to dress. For me, she was okay, and then she was in a public space and she got harassed, and everybody just stood there and were looking at her. I felt sad. And you could see comments of people saying she was not dressed properly. That's how they get to be raped, when they don't dress this. And I'm like, this should not come from men. Because if you stand and then you look at that girl being harassed, you say it's because she's not properly dressed. She could be your sister. You get, and even if she's not properly dressed, you can actually cover her up and take her away from that environment that she's being harassed. And you can educate her and like tell her, okay, when else you're coming out into such environment, you don't dress this way. You get, it's afternoon, So when we start shifting some of these conversations for the men to start understanding the importance to protect the girl child, it's very, very, it will take us a long way.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Benedicta. Let me bring in Ogadinma. Ogadinma, you will help us read this message on the screen, and then I'll ask you a few more questions as we wrap up. This one is from Lillian Gua. She says she's watching us from Zaria, Kaduna. So please read this message on air and see if we can respond to it.
All right. She says education is not just for literacy purpose alone, but to become morally conscious and rational beings who can make use of their ability to think, participate, and embark on sustainable practices that can improve conditions of living. Lillian Gua.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
I
Yeah.
couldn't hear.
So, oh, sorry. I didn't even know. I was trying to read out the message and then it mute me. So I was saying that quickly address the issue of insecurity. Benedicta talked about how between the house to the school, a girl child faces so many issues of either being molested or raped before she gets to school and all of that. But sadly, we also have the issues of even schools being raided by kidnappers, abductors, and all of that. What what can you say to address the issue of insecurity? Because not just the girl child is suffering that now. We know bring back our girls, but we also know that many schools now, even the boys have been abducted, and parents are scared now to even take the boy child. We were saying before that it's even the girls that are not going to school, but now with the insecurity in town, parents are able to say, my boy child though, better stay at home. It's better I see you alive than say I want to put you in school, and then we'll now start looking for ransom to pay. What can we do to address the issue of insecurity in schools?
The issue of insecurity in schools, as we all know, is a national security challenge which has bedeviled the entire country. And education is the right of every child. Security itself is also a fundamental human right because government itself exists to protect lives and property. So that is, in fact, the basis of governance. So it's a fundamental issue bordering on the fundamental human rights to live, and right to feel safe. So the issue of insecurity around the school is a national security threat, is a problem that all stakeholders must come together to be able to take care of. Now, we now have issues because when insurgents target schools, they do that because it's a soft target. They do that because they know that our security system, is porous to a point where there is no opportunity for security people to start guarding schools. And besides, using the number of policemen, security agents that we have in this country, if you are to deploy them, two per school, they will not be enough because they are so small. The number is not commensurate to our population, to the number of schools we have. So for us, in the aspect of security, it's a collective problem. I think as a nation, there should be a security summit, a kind of education security summit, where all stakeholders should come together and come up with modalities and security, strategies that can be used to protect our schools. In the past, we used to have the Safe School projects led by Gordon Brown, I remember, from the UN. And the project was, okay, how do we protect the schooling environment from, external conflict so that, insurgents and terrorists, kidnappers and what have you will not exploit, the schools and use it to score or advance their criminality or their struggles, quote and unquote. So basically, I think it's something that requires collective effort. Also, in part of every stakeholder, communities should see school as not just projects or building in their communities, but they should see school as something that is a kind of a collective responsibility of everybody. A school can be in a rural village and end up producing, people that pass through that school can end up becoming presidents, end up becoming, change agents that can come back and even change that community itself. So until all citizens begin to see school as not just the usual government properties, that's why today you see, school will have a roof, and maybe one of the a part of the corrugated sheet will just be blown off, and the community will fold its arms, doing nothing. And that space, a bigger window will now come and pull the whole school down. And nobody will say anything. They're waiting for government to come and do one thing or the other. So for us, as a nation, we should begin to see school as a national concern, a collective responsibility, a property that is not just for the community alone or where the school is situated. So government and the service chiefs, the politicians, and all the strata of the society, the traditional rulers, need to come together to save schools, because it's a very serious threat. Whether you're in the Northwest, you have the issue of banditry, schools are raided, packed in their hundreds, moved, parents, like you rightly said, people will say you better remain at home and be alive than to, be in the hand of one criminal, and who is talking of millions of ransoms, or even end up killing, the students. But another thing also we need to understand is school itself. I don't just know why every elements, criminal elements of the society or mentally deranged individuals target schools. Whether it's the school shootings in the United States, every day you hear people go into a school and begin to shoot innocent, learners, innocent students, pupils, sometimes nursery, kindergarten, those in grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, and the rest of it. So it's a global problem when it comes to that. Now, but for us in Nigeria, whether you have an insurgent who is going to, raid a school and pack all the students to the bush, or whether you have a group who is saying people shouldn't write examination, they should sit at home, because school shouldn't function before for some struggles or whatsoever, or whether you have, where Boko Haram, for example, attacks a school simply because it wants to be on CNN, it wants to be on, global headline, to make global headline. All these things are problems that we are confronting, that is confronting the nation and us as citizens. So on the area of security, definitely there should be a synergy, between the government and all relevant stakeholders to come together to marshal out plans on how can we be able to protect, the school, protect the students, protect the teachers, and ensure that all critical infrastructure, especially those ones that relates to education and the other things, are guarded and protected, so that even if there are conflicts, which most of the times in Africa you can't stay without, it shouldn't interfere into the schooling system. Now we're also having not just the criminals on the streets or those in the bush. We're also having the invisible enemy, which is the COVID. So we got to a level where schools will be closed down. Students are asked to go home because maybe a variant has come out, or maybe we have, the pandemic has surged. So therefore people have to be in their homes, and so all these things are threats to schools. All of us knew what happened last year. Most schools could not function properly. Schools were closed for months, and some of the resultant effect is what we are trying to come out of. So basically, security is a very serious problem that requires the collective, responsibility of everybody to come together and ensure that our schools are safe for our children, our communities are safe in a manner that children can be able to go through their educational process, without any interruption or without anything coming to say, please stop. So basically, it's a challenge. And I think it's something that requires the collective effort of all and sundry and every stakeholder to cope. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ogadinma. So we're wrapping up now. In case you just joined us, you've missed quite a lot, but the videos will still be here after the program. We usually even have viewers watch from across other continents, 6 hours, 8 hours after the show. So the videos will be here. Keep your comments on. We'll still pass it on to our guests. We'll be wrapping up shortly, but I want to bring Juliana in. If she can see this message on the screen for her to read it, and then each of you will take one minute to say your final word. But Juliana, this is a message from Kiagba Doso, and she says she's in Makurdi, Benue State of Nigeria. Could you read this loudly and then quickly respond to it, and then we'll come back and wrap up finally.
So that source says educating parents is very important. Parents should start talking with their children early and often about body changes, sex, love, etc. When parents allow their children to know about certain things from other people, it tends to go wrong. Sex education is very important from Benue, Makurdi. So yes, and I agree with her that indeed our parents should educate us. But I also like to share in parts also that when we are also having a conversation about girl child education and issues or the nuances that comes with it. First of all, from my perspective, we are first of all dealing with the issue of access, the issue of the challenges that girls also face when they are going to school. From where I sit in terms of education with parents, when you want to talk about girl child education, especially from the rural perspective, you are dealing with a situation where, first of all, the parents themselves are not educated. And then secondly, also, so they hardly see the need to take their children to school. In most rural communities, children come as an economic value to parents than an educational value. So I have to go with my parents or my grandparents whom I'm living with to the farm or to the market to sell something or to do one activity or the other instead of going to school. This has been my experience. In the urban centers where you are having some of these challenges, the situation is also more or less connected to poverty and being able to fend for yourself. The parents in the urban centers not being able to have much resources enough to be able to push their children to school. We are also looking at the issue of culture, where women are more or girls are more viewed in terms of marriage, and so people girls will be given off into marriages at very early stages, as even as early as 10 years, 12, 13 years, instead of being pushed to go to school. And so my advocacy and approach has always been in two sides. First of all, being a role model and motivating these young girls to take their education seriously. And then the second part, also raising awareness within communities about the importance of education and how it makes all of us, our lives much better than when the child is on the streets or is in the community and not knowing the importance of what the education does for them. And so they find themselves in relationships that in a way lands them into teenage pregnancies. And so I guess the underlying factor and pinning into all the conversation we are having is, first of all, culture, secondly, poverty, and then also thirdly, the lack of awareness. Like you rightly said, we've made some progress in girl child education, but still, when you go to some communities, when you go to some villages, you'll be shocked and surprised as to the mindset of people about education, about going to school, about having access. And I mean, even that at that level, it's still quite shocking, and the stories are quite shocking and mind blowing. And so, yes, I mean, even before we come to the level of parents education, which is also, I mean, that's a whole topic on its own in terms of sexual, I'll put it under sex education. It's a whole topic. I mean, we don't want to even go into that conversation now. It's an entire conversation on its own in terms of sex education. I mean, that is when you already have found your level and you would want to engage your children. But currently, I think we are dealing with issues of poverty that translates into preventing girls from having access to education, and not even just poverty. Already, let's also look at the standard of education itself, especially within the rural communities. The standard, it has always been another passion of mine, raising the standard so that when I'm attending school in my village and school in the city, the disparity isn't too much. That's also another critical area. And even in terms of also raising the standard, when you are raising the standard, how favorable is the environment also for girls? How is the environment for girls, the teachers? Some of these rural communities, it's the teachers that are also the perpetrators of their teenage pregnancies. It's the teachers that are posted that are also the same people that are perpetrating the same acts of getting these girls pregnant. Some of these villages you go to, it's the parents that will be pushing the girls to go and have affair with the teachers or have affair with men within the community, sometimes for economic benefits. Other times too, they just don't value they just don't know the value of education. So then it's a situation of living our lives some way, somehow, I would say anyhow. So yes, sex education, we need to work on it, which for me it's an entire different conversation from um getting girls into school, giving them access and ensuring continuity, ensuring that they are stay completion, as my colleague guests on the show rightly for me explained it, that it's not even just getting access. When you get access, how are you able to retain? When are you able to complete? When you complete, are you able to move further higher? It's a whole. So the higher we go, our numbers keep dropping. But right now, we need the numbers to. We need more people to access. We need more people to stay. We need more people, more girls to continue, not just finishing at junior high school, but continuing to senior high school and then continuing to the tertiary, which is in all these there are a lot of barriers for us in all these sections, as we've already mentioned earlier on in the conversation. So I believe that we will get to that section of sex education and parents education. But first of all, parents must even understand and grasp the concept of education and its benefits for their children, especially for the girl child. Then we can zoom into that whole conversation about sex education, which is also another challenge that we have as in our parts of the world, and also in a way I agree that it contributes to the situation that prevents girls from furthering and or getting access to school. So yes, that would be my response for now.
Wow. Thank you so much, Juliana. We'll be wrapping up now, so I'll give everyone 1 minute to say a word and all of that. But Ogadinma, I will come to you now. In your 1 minute, I'd also like you to quickly address the issue of persons with disability, because when we also talk about girls and girls' child education, it also comes in layers. So girls who come from the very rich homes, they may not even experience some of these issues. So girls who come from the urban areas may not experience the kind of issues that girls that come from the rural areas do. And then even within the girls now, there are ranges. Juliana talked about how even some parents don't even know anything about sex education. So what are they even going to teach their children? And that's why we also need to keep building the capacity of parents, because you can't give what you don't have. So quickly also address the issue of girls living with disabilities, because sometimes these girls even face much more than the normal one that normal girls will do. I've had instances where some of these girls tell me that anyone they are dating will tell them, I'm doing you a favor, you know, and it could be so dehumanizing, you know. They'll say, I'm doing you a favor. Do you know if I leave you, no one else will follow you because you're a person living with disabilities and all of that. So I'd like you in 1 minute, Ogadinma, while you also wrap up, everyone will take 1 minute to say their final words. Quickly also, and all of you will also address the issue of persons with disability, especially for females. What do you think we can do moving forward to include them, even people with albinism and all of that? Ogadinma, let's have you on that.
Very much. Thank you very much for having me on this. Currently, my organization just signed an agreement with Development DAI. They are implementing a USAID project called State to State. So the State to State project also have this what we call gender and social inclusion component in it, which we will be doing. What we intend to do there is to how do we create, support basic education, primary health care, and the water, sanitation, and hygiene. So what we are looking there is that if you look at the issue of girls living with disabilities or people living with disabilities, among the 6 clusters of disability itself, you realize that our schools, both in the urban and rural areas, are not inclusive enough in terms of, in the design, in the infrastructure, in terms of even access itself. For example, by next month we'll be having we'll be translating the Bauchi state budget, into braille for the blind, for those with visual impairments to be able to, read through and know what the state have in store for them. And then you realize that schools doesn't have, inclusive, is not inclusive enough to cater for this kind of, brethren of girls with special needs. Some of them visual impairment, some of them is, hearing impairment, some of them, because maybe polio, all those manner of clusters of disabilities. I think this has to do with government, the civil society, and all relevant stakeholders, because we must make sure that our school is inclusive. Of course, it is expensive. Maybe some other time we can be able to talk about the issue of, funding, because if our educational system is not properly funded, is far below the UNESCO's threshold or standard. We can't see our budget, even we don't even have up to 10 to 10% of our budget, budgeted for education. We don't have that. The last time we had it was when it got to 14%, it came down to 7%, moved to 8%. So for us to have an inclusive system, there must be, political will by the, duty bearers and the leaders of this nation, and as well as all the stakeholders, so that we can make our school inclusive enough. Then when we make it inclusive enough, then it creates now access for girls living with disabilities to be able to access, these schools and learn in their own pace, and can be able to compete favorably with their peers who are, who are not, disabled, or who are not living with any disability. So for us, it behoves on our conscience as a nation, and it's something that everybody who loves this country, who loves humanity, should be able to advocate for. Nobody will feel happy to have a sister who is, who is living with disabilities and who cannot access school simply because of her disability, which in most cases is not fault of hers. It's nobody's fault that the person will be disabled, will have disability challenge and the rest of it. So our schools are not inclusive enough, and we also need to go back and make sure that the UBE Act, we should be able to make sure that, because the Act itself acknowledges inclusion, but I think there should be a kind of penalty for policymakers who refuse, to include, or who refuse to implement these particular laws. So I think it's something we need to do. So while we are pushing for child rights acts to be domesticated in states, while we are pushing for, VAP laws to be, to be implemented and domesticated in states, we should also be pushing for, the Disability Act that was recently signed, and make sure that it's not just for, political token, but let's make sure that every state can be able to sit down, do a proper census and mapping and assessment of these people with special needs, and come up with ways so that we don't just isolate them and say this is a school for the blind, this one is school for this. There should be inclusion, so that isolating them too is worsening it. So for us, we need to have a classroom that is all inclusive, that is, has every segment of the society, regardless of what they share, what they have, or what they don't have, so that they can sit down and learn as peers, not coming to say, okay, let us just, for tokenist reason, let's build one school for the blind in one local government that will take care of the state. Let us just build one school of the deaf in one locality just to take care of. No, there should be an inclusive. So we should begin to advocate, as civil societies begin to advocate it. We need to have schools, public schools that have ramps, so that those with wheelchair can easily access it. We should be able to have those kind of facilities. Another thing we also didn't talk about, maybe some other time, is the issue of the school environment itself. While we are talking about gender, GBV, gender-based violence, talk about abuses, maybe by teachers or maybe by people on the street, or as a girl moves from the house to the school. Let's also talk about schools that don't have functional toilets, schools that don't have, menstrual pads, schools that don't have all those sanitation services, or water and sanitation and hygiene, services that can be able to keep those girls in school. We have instances where girls can't go to school because they are menstruating, for example, or girls can't go to school because they have nowhere to urinate when they feel pressed. So these are some of the things that are affecting, attendance, and girls ensuring that they're always in school. So people now come up with excuses. A girl who knows that there is menstrual pad in school, there is, a safe space for her, maybe for urination and maybe other private things, will feel happier and feel comfortable to be in school. But when all these things are lacking, so wash services are not there, toilets are not there, nothing, it's also a problem. So we should be able to advocate for that, so that our schools can be inclusive enough, have everybody on board, and then we can be able to say, yes, we have done justice to each and everybody.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I'll bring Benedicta to also say her final words in a minute or two, and then lastly Juliana will wrap up to say her final words. All of that. So I think Juliana has done her. So it's Benedicta that is remaining now. So Benedicta, I'll just bring you up to say your final words, and then we'll just wrap up the show. It's been an amazing conversation. Yeah. Please unmute. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really difficult to keep up. My network, my network has been really giving me issues. Thank you so much for having me on the show. We'll continue to speak about girl-child education. We'll continue to advocate. We'll continue to sensitize. Keep the information going. Join groups. Always participate in it. And then if there are opportunities where you can go to schools and be part of listening, it's not just giving capacity building or saying you're trying to empower a child. Once in a while, you should find yourself in their groups, in their midst, and listen to them. When you listen to them, you can actually get their point of view or their own issues that they're handling. When you talk of education, we can sit here and look at education from our own view. But when you meet this other generation, I'll call them the new generation, they'll also have their own view of what they feel a girl child education should be, or what it should be like, and the issues they are facing. When you look at that, their issues might be different from the issues we faced during our time. So we should always have time. We should always make room to listen to the girls around us. Yeah, we should always find time. If you see a girl around, always try to like chip in one or two conversations and speak with her and hear her own views. So this will also broaden our understanding on the conversation, how to shape our conversations around such issues. So for me, leaving this show today, I'll be more instrumental, I'll put my voice more into girl child education, advocating for it. I'm more of a peace builder. My work is focused more on youth peace building activities, but I'm looking more into gender right now because I feel there are a lot of issues surrounding the girl child, gender based violence, and it's amazing that we're just at the point where the 16 days activism, that it's going on, that has been going on. It has really brought a lot of issues to our understanding that we can use, and paint the world orange, of course. So for me, this is the best time to use such opportunities and use your voice rightly. So thank you so much for this opportunity to start uh, putting my conversation, narrowing it down to where it should be, where it should be happening, who I should be conversing with, and how to engage better. So thank you for the opportunity, Emmanuel. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Benedicta. So all of you have 30 seconds now. What we do on the show, as we wrap up finally, we ask all our guests to say a word of appreciation or thank you to either persons who've supported them in their organizations, people who've supported them in their work on the field, organizations as well that have supported what they do or helped in partnering and all of that. So I'll start again with our guests from Accra, Ghana. 30 seconds, all of you, starting from Juliana to Ogadinma, and then lastly to um, Benedicta. Each of you will, for 30 seconds, just greet or acknowledge or appreciate organizations, persons, individuals that have been instrumental to your work and all of that. So, Juliana, over to you in Accra.
Hi. Oh, wow. I think I want to say thank you to you for this beautiful opportunity to lend my voice and little wisdom to girl child education in our society. And hello to everyone in Nigeria. I hope to come and visit soon.
We are waiting.
I hope to visit Ogbonna soon. I think he's doing a great work, and then my lady as well. It will be good
Benedicta.
to connect, Benedicta. It will be good to connect and work together sometime on some of these issues. We need to meet more often on platforms to share common challenges and look at the common solutions that we can all have to solve many of the challenges that faces our communities as young leaders, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juliana. So I'll go to um, Ogadinma to say your final word, 30 seconds.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you, Shagalinku TV. And also thank you to all the staff of Better Life Restoration Initiative, BERI Bauchi. We're also grateful to our donors, Creative Associates, United States Agency for International Development, DAI, Pro Health International, Bread for the World, Development Exchange Center, and everybody, and our communities, the Bauchi state government. We are grateful. I'm grateful to everybody. Whatever we have achieved was made possible by the American people, by the German people, and as well as the Bauchi state government, who have been supporting us, especially in projects that require counterpart fundings and everything. They make sure everything goes by, and our community volunteers, our staff, everybody. I can't thank. In fact, you're gonna give me the whole program to thank people, because people in one way or the other have assisted us, have done that. Whether it's Afri Law Foundation, whether it's anywhere, so many people. Honestly, I'm really grateful. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ogadinma. And let's have the last but not the least, our early comer. You have 30 seconds to do your felicitations to who you'd like to go on. Please unmute. Yeah, okay. Go on, Benedicta.
Okay. Okay, my shout out first of all would definitely go to Shagalinku TV. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be live here. Thank you to everyone who has joined, who has dropped their comments. Thank you for joining in. I want to give my shout out to my colleagues, my organization, civil society, legislative organization. Like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to know what development work is all about. I'm new into the sector, so it's an opportunity. I've been learning and joining in on conferences, meeting great people just like you, Emmanuel, and Ogadinma. We met at Afri Law. Thank you to my colleagues, Beta Ogbonna, and my line manager, Salahuddin Hashim. People have been very instrumental to my growth. I believe when we raise one another up, we're raising the society to be better. So capacity development for everybody that comes in touch with you. When you do that, you develop the society. A big shout out to my dad, who is my biggest motivator, and my brothers, my siblings. They've been very supportive of me in all my achievements, in whatever I want to. And then to my support system, my mother, I draw my strength from her. So when you look at education, you should be able to point out when a mother is educated, you should know that your daughter is also going to be educated. So I cannot do this without mentioning my mother. So thank you, mommy. And thank you to my friends. My friend, she joined. You could even tell from her name, Dosu Kiagba. We've been friends all the way from secondary school. I've been friends till now. So thank you for your support all the time, for always giving me a listening ear whenever I come crying. So thank you. And my sister, she also joined, Lilian Gua from Zaria. Thank you so much. So I have a very amazing network of people around me, and that's why I'm amazing. So thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And to everyone that joined, my fellow hosts, Ogadinma and Miss Yorke
Juliana.
from Accra, Ghana. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I want to thank everyone who joined us, and I want to thank everyone who sent messages. The videos will be here, like I said, after the show, the videos are here. Other videos of previous editions are also there to watch, both on YouTube and on Facebook. Remember to like all our social media handles. It is Shagalinku TV on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, and all of that. Also click on the notification button on our YouTube channel so that anytime we go live, you can get a notification and join us. I sincerely must thank, this is the first time we're doing 1 hour, 40 minutes on the show. So you guys broke the record. We always keep it at 55 minutes or latest max 1 hour. We've never done a show for 1 hour, 30 minutes, but the conversations have been so amazing that I just wish we could go on and on and on. But then we have to respect ourselves with our African network. Already, Juliana got kicked out twice with her network. and Benedicta as well, all of that. And so sometimes we just keep it 1 hour because of network issues and all of that. But then we hope that our continent will get better and network will become stronger and all of that. So I really thank all my guests, Juliana from Accra, Ghana, Ogadinma from Bauchi, Nigeria, and lastly, my very good friend as well, Benedicta from Abuja, Nigeria. You guys have been so amazing. We hopefully will bring you guys back for a second time to talk about the issues, some of the gray areas we couldn't really touch for lack of time and all of that. Thank you all. You've been amazing guests on the show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we'll come your way again. My name is Ambassador Emmanuel Gabari, urging you all to have a blissful time. Remember, the conversations are unending. So keep the conversations going on the comment section and let's take it up from there. God bless you all and have a beautiful, beautiful Friday night. And hey, thank God it's Friday. Bye-bye, everyone.